On the face of it, Arsenal should be genuine title contenders for the 2023-24 Premier League crown. They came agonizingly close to winning their first league title in over 2 decades, but in the end, Manchester City persevered and deserved to be the best side in England. Normally, a team's second-place finish means that they should be building on that performance for the next season and finally go the distance. However, there are loads of examples in the Premier League.
I mean, it's always fun to watch Tottenham lose, isn't it?
Where a team finished second but had a terrible next campaign. Take, for instance, Liverpool. They were runners-up in the 2021-22 season and were quite an entertaining sight to watch. Everyone expected them to do very well in the 22-23 campaign, especially after blowing the budget to sign Darwin Núñez. But reality quickly set in and the Reds finished outside the top 4. Something similar happened to Manchester United under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. This means that a good season is never a guarantee of a great next season, but something tells us that this Arsenal side is much different from most. Before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications and prepare for another few minutes of some really good content. Record-breaking streak. We start off with how good Arsenal were at the start of the 2022-23 season. The Gunners were on top for a record 248 days. The Londoners were clearly a different animal under Mikel Arteta and showed that they can easily dance with the best teams in England. The record-breaking streak shows that Arsenal are definitely not a bad side, and if they had managed to find some consistency in the final few weeks of the campaign, we'd be having a different conversation altogether. Promising summer. Following what should be considered a successful season, there was bound to be interest in some of the players. While signing players is crucial for continuous improvement, so is holding on to your best players. And this is where the Gunners have done well. They've managed to keep hold of Martin Odegaard, a new deal has been agreed with Bukayo Saka, and William Saliba has also extended his contract. The likes of Saliba, Gabriel Jesus and Ben White have surpassed expectations. Most of the key players are either 25 or under, which means that Arteta can get the best out of them for at least another 5 years. Slight rebuild. While Odegaard has been phenomenal in midfield, the likes of Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey were equally crucial last season. Sadly, Xhaka has since left to join Bayer Leverkusen, while Thomas Partey is also on the way out. Reinforcement in midfield was badly needed, and guess what? Arsenal have done something a host of Premier League clubs have been dreaming to do. Now that the Gunners have already secured the services of England international Declan Rice from West Ham for £105 million, which is a lot of money for a team like Arsenal that used to be notorious in their transfer market dealings. And this is where the shift of Arsenal's recruitment strategy has started to pay off dividends. There was a time when there was focus on bringing in young players. Today, however, the strategy is a mixture of young players and those who have good experience. This is something that was notable through the signings of Gabriel Jesus and Alexander Zinchenko last summer. With Champions League qualification assured, Arsenal need to have more depth in their squad. At the same time, they need a truly elite presence in midfield. Arsenal haven't played in the Champions League since 2016, and in a lot of games against top-level opposition in Europe, battles are won in midfield. Last season, Rice made more recoveries than any other player in the Premier League. He also had the most interceptions, which means that with him in midfield, Arsenal will be a team that would quickly regain possession and launch quick counter-attacks through the pace that they have down both flanks. At West Ham, Rice was part of a double pivot. His ability to win back possession, ability to be physical when needed, and distribution is exactly what Arteta needs for his number 6 role. At the age of 24, Rice hasn't even peaked, so you can expect that his development would be even faster at Arsenal, where he'll be playing under a manager who doesn't agree with a chaotic approach towards football, like West Ham do under David Moyes. Now, Rice is not the only reason why Arsenal should be aiming for Premier League success. One transfer that has not been talked about enough is that of Kai Havertz. The German forward spent 3 years at Chelsea and flattered to deceive. With 32 goals and 12 assists, his numbers aren't that impressive, even if they aren't poor. Havertz is one player who has flattered to deceive, and at £65 million, we can't blame people for thinking that the Gunners have overpaid. Where will Havertz fit in at Arsenal? Truth be told, there is no perfect answer to this question. However, his arrival definitely raises the quality of the squad. He might not be getting a lot of minutes at the start, but the flashes of brilliance he has shown throughout his career means that the German would be a very important player. At Chelsea, Havertz largely played in the number 9 role, which isn't really his position. During his time at Bayer Leverkusen, Havertz was at his best when he was playing as a number 10. This is where he scored 32 goals and provided 29 assists. Clearly the people at Chelsea missed a trick there, and no one was able to get the best out of a player who can be a 20-plus goal-scoring midfielder. And that is exactly what Arteta sees in him. At Arsenal, we expect the German to drop deep to link up with his teammates and using his technical ability to put through the likes of Saka and Gabriel Martinelli. Defensive strength. Good attacks win matches, and good defenses win you titles. This could not be truer for Arsenal. Their downfall coincided with an injury to Saliba. The Frenchman was injured in a Europa League clash against Sporting CP, and in his place, Rob Holding struggled. Jakub Kiwior was also given a chance, but they just couldn't provide the solidity that Saliba offered. Defensive depth was the key reason why City were able to lift the league title. If you look at the current setup, only Gabriel and Saliba are the sort of defenders that inspire confidence. The arrival of Jurrien Timber is definitely going to add a new dimension to the backline. The Dutchman is a very good ball-playing defender and is able to link with midfield like few centre-backs can. A strong backline is something that will help Arteta's side through parts of the season where players suffer injuries due to packed schedules.
But yeah, he could not finish the game, so that was obviously a big sign.
After 10 months of matching Manchester City blow by blow, losing the Premier League title must have hurt Mikel Arteta a lot. Imagine a scenario where the likes of Saliba and others weren't injured at crucial stages of the campaign, and Arsenal would be entering the new season looking to defend a title they won after 19 years. But there is definitely a lot of optimism ahead of the 23-24 season. The Gunners are no longer a team that everyone would expect to choke. Well, they sort of did choke when it mattered last season, but this time around, it felt different. Circumstances were such that their title assault was snuffed out by City. Small margins are what define title-winning squads, and if we look at Arsenal under Arteta, the team has definitely gone from strength to strength. Finishing second last season was a step in the right direction because what we saw during that campaign was the team finally starting to respond to how the manager wanted them to play. The Londoners are one of the youngest squads in the Premier League. The new signings are players who haven't reached their full potential yet. That means that sooner or later, Arsenal should be winning the title. But then again, this is the world of football, where the here and now matters more than what a team can achieve in 2 to 3 years. Arsenal's ownership has backed Arteta enough to provide him the players he desired, which means that the Spaniard tactician is definitely under a lot of pressure to deliver. The feeling is that the fans also want the team to go the distance this time around. Anything less than silverware would for sure be considered a major disappointment. Maybe this is what success does to you. It adds more expectations. If we think about it, Arteta's side has achieved a lot, which has set the tone for these expectations. But those expectations have also been translated into the players, who expect to go out there and win every time they face a team. There was a time when Arsenal was considered to be a team riddled with players who had weak personalities. They would crumble where it mattered the most. They were not very physical and used to be bullied by teams that were even destined for relegation fights.
I mean, I'm really disappointed. I thought it was a shit performance, I can't lie.
That culture has changed for good. Today, this Arsenal team is no longer a bunch of players with a mental fortitude of a 2-year-old. This is a team that leaves everything on the pitch, takes no prisoners, and can even play dirty when it's needed. These are the hallmarks of teams that are accustomed to winning titles, and that is exactly what they had been missing. In order to be the best, you have to beat the best. And if they're able to tame the juggernaut that is Manchester City next season, who can disagree with their title credentials? Not us.